Medical records say what you think they do. Find out next with your disability guy, Roy Rickstrew. Good morning, Rogersville. It's another beautiful day in the Ozarks. The trees are glistening. They just look fantastic out there right now, don't they, Roy?
They do, but the roads are slick.
They are a
little
little slick.
To that.
Yeah, you should probably stay home if you can get out. They are pretty slippery out there. I saw at least one slide off. You said you saw, what, 3 or 4?
Yeah, I came in from Willard, and there was a couple tractor trailers on their side. It looked like a couple things had rolled. There was a pickup there at 65 and I-44. I can tell you from where I left the house in Willard to probably National on I-44 was slicker than snot.
Yeah.
And then it got a little better through town, and then as I started coming this way, it got worse again at about 125.
Yeah.
Just, I guess my traffic report.
It's a good day to stay home. So medical records, that's something that's interesting. We generally don't know what's in our medical records. We don't look, and I connected my app on my iPhone to my health records with Cox, and so it downloads some of my records. I'm not sure I'm getting them all, but it is interesting to get to look and see what's in there.
Yeah, a lot of times you get like a patient set of medical records, and so you'll get those instructions like if you go to the ER or you're hospitalized, or even after your doctor, the one that tells you need to lose weight.
Home care, yeah.
But you'll get those kind of instructions for the patient. A lot of times you don't get the full test results or the full recording of the records. Mm-hmm. You can request those, of course, and get to those things.
Because you own the file?
That's correct.
Yeah,
it's your file. And I preach this all the time. I tell people you need to look in your medical records because you may think you have a great relationship with your doctor. In reality, you may not. Mm-hmm. That's one concern. The second thing is, when Social Security looks for documentation of your medical condition, they're looking at the reports of the physician. And so if your condition doesn't impress your doctor, it's not going to impress Social Security.
Yeah, that's good to know. So do you find that it's ever difficult to get those records?
Well, it's difficult to get medical records sometimes. We talked about that one time before. Sometimes I've requested records, 6, 7, 8, 9 times to get a response from the doctors. I assume their offices are just in disarray, or they've had medical records clerks leave and that sort of thing. But it is frustrating for folks. But more to the point today, is our medical records, oftentimes the doctor doesn't do a very good job of recording, even if you do impress them with your medical condition. They have a review of symptoms that they check each time you come in, and by default, they're all normal.
Yeah.
And so you have to,
You have to flip that switch somehow.
You do.
Yeah, they have a burden of proof. You have to make them check that box.
And you'll see in records all the time, that gait is normal, but the person came in with a cane, or came in asking for a cane, or that they had weakness in their lower legs or what have you, and there's this disconnect.
Because it just maybe didn't click that box when they were going through the electronic record, because they are all electronic now, aren't they?
They are. And what's interesting, as an advocate working as a representative, I grab all those things that are positive to the person's case. The judge grabs all that stuff that's negative, and sometimes we'll cite the same visit in the same medical record. We just saw the two sides of it. I saw that the gait was impaired. He saw that the gait was normal in that review of symptoms.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden that record's kind of a toss-up as to how effective it is for your claim.
Sure, yeah. That's interesting. But I was kind of interested, do you find that doctors or hospitals are just kind of, is there a reluctance to let the patient see their own records? Do you find that ever happening?
Well, clearly that was the case because that's the whole premise behind HIPAA. was the portability portion of the
Right,
HIPAA
yeah.
law, was to make your records more accessible to the patient.
Yeah.
Now, I will say this, that
The original intent of HIPAA. It
Correct.
became almost the opposite of that.
Correct.
In practice.
I will say this, that medical records that are psychological in nature are not necessarily open and available to the patient.
Is that right?
It is. There was concern that you may be upset with what your therapist or counselor recorded. You may go in and try to harm your therapist or counselor. So there's kind of a layer of protection there. Interesting thing, and I know you'll love the inconsistencies in law, but under HIPAA, the doctor can prevent you from seeing those. But if we request a hearing and go to court, then you have to be given the exhibit file, which then in turn includes those very records that kept you from seeing those.
Yeah. Well, that was always if I ever needed medical records or anything, documents from anybody, and they were resistant to just give them to me. I mean, it's like I can subpoena you to a deposition, and I can question you for 4 hours on an afternoon about those records, or you can just give them to me. And usually people would realize, oh, maybe I should just give them the records. But, a lot of times it's like, I don't have time to do these records for you. Like, well, we can make it worse.
Same thing here. Anytime that I've ever mentioned the possibility of asking for a subpoena or subpoenaing records, I always get them. They come in pretty quick. But, when you look in your medical records, and I would encourage everybody to get a copy of their medical records and take a look at them and see exactly what it is that your doctor's recording, you may find out interesting things about yourself you didn't know.
Yeah, maybe some things you don't want to know.
For example, I have been diagnosed with premature aging.
Premature aging?
Now, I have no earthly idea what premature aging is. One of these days, I'm going to have to ask the doctor what exactly that means. I know I'm a little gray here in the beard.
Well, aren't we all?
But yeah, I found out in the record that, whatever it means.
Whatever that
I've been
means.
diagnosed with premature aging, yeah. So.
Huh. I don't know what that, I mean.
I've been told for years I had an old soul, so
maybe that's it. That seems to be a logically inconsistent statement.
It does.
Premature aging seemed to be, I'm not sure how that would go.
But, when we get cases and people have been turned down or denied, they contact me and want to talk about appeal options. So many people are just unbelievably surprised that they were turned down because Dr. Smith knows, what's going on. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. Maybe he doesn't write down, doesn't take good notes.
Maybe he just has a really good bedside manner.
This is true.
Yeah.
This is true. And, it's kind of like playing cards sometimes with people, right? I mean, you can sit there and know you got a winning hand because the guy across the way, looks terrified, and then it turns out, it's not that way.
Yeah, his
So
tell
people
wasn't
are
what he
hard
thought
to
it
read.
was. Yeah, that's true, especially doctors. Sometimes lawyers might be worse. I don't know. But if you have more questions, please feel free to go to yourdisabilityrep.com. There's a lot of good video content on there you can review, or call Roy, 882-1800, right here in Springfield. And we won't recommend you come see him today, but if you need to, he absolutely could.
That's for sure. And, again, it's very important you look at your own medical records, and it's a daunting task, understandably so, but that's what I do. So, if you want to download that to somebody else, give me a call. We'll talk about how that works.
All right. Thanks for watching, Roger. We'll be back next week, maybe in a new studio. You never know. We'll see how that's going.